Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For returning viewers, I want to say that I'm really happy that I get this chance to explain some things. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jesse, and this is my channel all about domain format. Except today. Today's video is going to be very different. I'm hoping to keep the tone serious and cordial. I'm going to be talking about the community that's come around domain format, my personal values, and some concerning events, not only in the news, but the reactions to that news from the active Yugioh community. I know a lot of people are going to disagree. I know a lot of people are probably going to unsubscribe. I know a lot of people are going to try and use this video as evidence against domain format. But I personally feel like I have to do this. It's very important for me to address everything. I'm going to give a quick timeline to give the grounds for what I'm going to be talking about, and then I will go into detail as the video goes on. Last week, around September 8th, I saw one of the most horrifying videos I'd ever seen make it to the news cycle. The tragic stabbing and killing of Irina Zarutska. I'm not going to go into details about the story or the video, but if you would like to delve into that yourself, I will leave a link down below to a video that I think did a good job of summarizing the incident. I will say that that was the beginning of my downward mental spiral. Believe me when I say I'm not trying to over-exaggerate when I say that. September 10th, political activist and commentator Charlie Kirk was killed live during a live stream at a college. It was equally the most graphic and horrific event I've ever seen get to the news cycle. There's still a lot of details coming out about that story, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know all the details or show you one video that can go over everything so far. What I will say is that I for sure crossed some sort of threshold, particularly when I saw the reactions to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The thing that really sent me over was seeing the gleeful celebration, mocking, and instigative language used by pretty big Yu-Gi-Oh personalities, or I guess it's safe to say the ones that are more terminally online. I knew then and there that I was going to have to say something. My mind was racing. I was furious. I couldn't believe the disgusting things I was seeing. The first thing I did was start to interact with these people on Twitter in not such a nice way. I wanted to bring light to a lot of these disgusting comments. I knew by doing this I was going to be, I guess, quote unquote, rocking the boat, causing a scene. In that moment, I didn't particularly care about the repercussions. That night, I didn't sleep well, and this is coming after not sleeping well after the Irina Zarutska stuff. And the following day, September 11th, I had come to the decision that I was going to have to make a video. I was going to have to do something like this or some sort of live stream. Upon realizing that, I immediately left the domain format Discord. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't ask if it was a good idea. I didn't ask for help from anyone, for any support. I just left because I knew that the opinions or the statements I was making, the comments I was making, and this video in the live stream, which I'll get to, was going to give people, it was going to get a certain crowd to use me as a weapon against the domain format, against the format itself. And to try and get ahead of that, I figured it was just best, rather than being asked to leave, to just leave. I still don't know what the reaction was to that within the Discord. I could have made something like an alt account and re-entered, but I was very much willing to stick by what I had done. And again, that day I saw more disgusting comments, argued with more people. I gave everybody a heads up that I was going to be streaming that night. Tell everybody exactly how I felt. I haven't deleted any of my tweets in case anybody is wondering. I'm not going to. But this is the tweet. I'm streaming tonight at 8 p.m. to discuss my opinions on the losers in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. The time to placate to these degenerates is over for me. As you can see, I was quite upset, and I was preemptively placing a lot of blame. And as you'll see here, I was beside myself. I was furious. I was name calling. I definitely lost my cool. Fuck, dude. Nah, fuck you, Dyer. This during the stream, I held nothing back. Went over all the tweets that I had an issue with. Dyer came in. I insulted them incessantly. They said, "I hope your son gets taken away." It was pretty nasty. For those of you who did see it, I'm not going to say I'm sorry about the content of my arguments I made. I am regretful that letting myself get so frustrated and shocked that I couldn't figure out a better way, such as this video, to voice my concerns. I'm really not sad about the bridges I burned. I'm not sad, or I'm definitely not apologizing for the views I'm going to be laying out. But to anybody from a third-party perspective, they would agree with me that that was not the best way to do it. What was it that I saw that was so upsetting? I'll go over some examples here. This is Keegan from E3 Yugioh saying, "Pause champ." For context, this is during the time that we did not get confirmation that Charlie Kirk was in fact deceased, claiming, "We used to kill Nazis in this country. What the F happened?" I want to be clear that I think this is incredibly infantile thinking, and this is a tactic used by the extreme left to categorize their political opponents as something vile, so that to them and their fellow extreme liberals can then justify violence happening to the person they were calling the Nazi. Somebody saying they lost respect. And Keegan deflecting by saying that he hates Hitler and thinks Nazis are bad. You were never part of the Edison community if you disagree. This is, again, a very infantile way to approach the subject. Him creating the straw man that your argument means you're a Nazi or whatever, so that he can tear that argument down rather than the actual argument, which is, this is pretty disgusting to do for simply disagreeing politically. Yu-Gi-Oh fans are all colors, creeds, and political positions. Really disappointed in your take. I don't have any Nazi fans, actually. If someone thinks they are a fan of me and they are a Nazi, then they are not a fan of me. Post with your face next time, Nazi bot. I want to see it. This is another tactic used by the extreme left. My opinion is that Keegan wanted a screenshot of their face to possibly do some Google reverse searching to hopefully get a Facebook page or otherwise some other social media post, maybe get some more information on the person, and do who knows what with that information. One can only guess. No one should die for their political opinion. Hitler died for his political opinions. Again, very infantile. Hitler did not die for his opinions. He died for his actions. And this is insane. Hopefully a liberal is next on the death list. This is, I condemn that statement with everything that I am. That's one example of something I saw that was incredibly infuriating. And in response to my post, somebody says, "Found the next Nazi that's going down," from the account Kill the Right 420, talking about me, obviously. This is also another, I imagine they're friends with Keegan because they're another big personality in the Edison community. "Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson next, please." This is a direct call for violence. And there is one thing I will apologize for my stream. I used these two comments to paint a very broad brush about the Edison community. That comment was made in ignorance because I'm not particularly involved with the Edison community. I made a very broad statement after seeing these two about the Edison community. And for that, I apologize. I do not think the entire Edison community is an extreme liberal gender ideology nut job, but who I do think is a nut job is Dyer. Are we seriously doing the "don't celebrate any death no matter what" Discord again? Grow up and have a single critical thought in your life. Somebody bringing up a concern about what does this do other than cause the country to be more polarized. Dyer says, "Cool, let them call me an extremist. I don't care." Atrocity, another cringe Twitter account. Can't believe this has to be said, honestly. And I said, maybe you should take your own advice. You cannot point to a single thing Charlie ever did that even came close to justifying this. I would love to see you try. Please explain these critical thoughts of yours. And I would show you the comments, but the people who commented ended up blocking me, so I can't see them. It's from another wild account, Sophie apparently. Meeting people saying it's reprehensible to celebrate a person's death, even if they were an awful person. To that end, I think I speak for us when I say we will do it again. And this comment, or the comment I made, there's a deep-seated problem in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. This comes from a long time. I've been trying to make Yu-Gi-Oh content for a couple years now, and the entire time that I've been active on Twitter, I've noticed some pretty wild tweets from a certain community. The reaction to the criticism of the people from that community always seems to be strange to me, almost as if, just because Sophie's a part of the LGBTQ community, any criticism hurled towards them is transphobia, homophobia, whatever you want to call it. All these phobias and isms and ists that have been overused over time over the last 10 years. And this comment exemplifies a big mental gymnastic leap that a lot of these people that are celebrating take, is someone being happy someone died is bad out of context. But we're talking about a guy who actively argued against Sophie's right to exist at a high enough level to influence the White House. Why shouldn't she be happy? Pretty crazy thing to say. I'm literally not even going to argue about Charlie's views. Everybody can go look it up for themselves. In fact, if somebody wants to watch what I think is a really good video going over about 10 different subjects that a lot of people have issue on with Charlie, this is it. We'll just watch this short one. A lot of people saying he deserved, or a lot of people insinuating that he somehow deserved what he got because of this comment that he made.
With gun rights.
You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational.
And this is important because it's a clip that's kind of like a gotcha. Well, Charlie called for this. He asked for this. No, he did not. There's a strong difference between advocating for gun rights because you can protect yourself, but your personal safety, and also from a tyrannical government, versus the right for mentally ill people to commit political assassinations. There's a major difference, and obviously there's some context that goes into that. He's not advocating for political assassins to take place. He's not advocating for crazy people to just go out there and be shooting people willy-nilly. No. He's acknowledging the fact that some shootings will happen, but we also can acknowledge that this assassination of Charlie Kirk is bigger than just a random shooting. That's not what this is.
So you can watch the rest of that if you would like by Amir Odom, a really great channel, and I think he does a good job. But my personal take, another way to easily dismiss the claim that because Charlie said the cost of having some gun death violence as worth it for the Second Amendment somehow means he deserved what he got. It's quite easy to dismiss this argument because you can also say that, well, you drive a car and you understand that there's a cost to driving that car, that there's going to be some car crashes every year killing people. And if you got into a car crash, you're essentially asking for it. It's that level of dumb. Imagine thinking a segregationist, aka someone who wanted to abolish the Civil Rights Act that people like MLK fought for, was just a sensible opinion you can disagree with. Oh boy. He's not a segregationist. He doesn't want to abolish civil rights. These are crazy comments by people who read headlines but don't actually do any more deeper research than that. I'll give an example. Somebody that I was, let's call it arguing with in my live stream, sent this as proof that Charlie Kirk calls for political violence. He's calling for lynching. This will probably be the last section about specifically Charlie Kirk's thoughts.
And these people are sick, and I don't say that lightly. The NCAA is
a perverted organization. They platformed a biological male who won a national championship and then was allowed in incredibly disturbing detail to be around you and your fellow competitors. And again, I blame the decline of American men. This never should have been, someone should have just took care of it the way we used to take care of things in the 1950s or 60s. But, as you have testosterone rates go down and men start acting like women and they don't do anything, then, hey, who's to say? Look, there are a lot of sick people in the world, unfortunately, and without the strength to go against them, the country is going to completely.
So, for context, Charlie is talking with Riley Gaines, who at an NCAA championship tied with Leah Thomas, a biological male swimming against biological females. And the concerning bit of this is talking about how men should have probably just took care of this situation like they would have in the 50s and 60s. Now, verbatim, that is not calling for lynching. A normal person would simply ask him to expand on that idea. What did you mean, Charlie Kirk, when you called for dealing with it as people would in the 50s and 60s? Personally, what I think is that he was saying that men nowadays are a lot more effeminized. They're, to be frank, giant pussies compared to how men used to be from the 50s and 60s. And back in the 50s and 60s, men would have collectively stood together to protect females from males trying to do things like change in the room with them, compete against them, take their spots in the rankings, take medals, awards, stuff like that. So I personally see this as him saying that men should come together to deal with this so that women don't have to. At the very least, even if you disagree with this take of his, it's clearly not something somebody deserves to be assassinated over. This is Ryder saying, I am genuinely grappling with loss of human life. I should be more respectful publicly at minimum for the sake of my own reputation. And also, this man who was an ass to everyone I loved for years and sold his soul and morality for clicks. He was genuinely evil. First off, he only thought he should be more respectful for the sake of his own reputation, which I find pretty cowardly. And he was rude to everyone he loves. Therefore, he was evil. And this is the mistake I made. The mistake I made was thinking that these people could be reasoned with logically. But I clearly was not the only one running off of emotions. But I made the comment saying that is called cognitive dissonance, because there's not a single thing that you can point to that could qualify him as evil. He merely had civil discourse. And Ryder responded by blocking me. So yeah, after 2 days of arguing with a lot of people, I decided to stream. And the reason one of many reasons I was so outspoken was I was essentially watching other people rationalize the killing of a man who has views very similar to me, when I would never dream of wishing anything similar happening to anybody from the liberal gender ideology crowd. Disagreeing is fine, but celebrating, saying, why should I care? He was evil, only insinuates that you don't value their life. And when you start going down the which lives matter and which lives don't argument, that's radical from my perspective. And there should be no qualifiers. There should be no, I don't like what happened to him, but I didn't agree with him, but if you're adding a qualifier, in my opinion, you're signaling to other people that it's okay to do those things because of those opinions, or at the very least, you won't stop anyone, or you won't care enough to stop anyone. So, in case I haven't painted a clear enough picture, this is something that I would call calls for threats of violence. This is something that I would call truly dangerous.
I'm sick and tired of it. Left-wingers, liberals, you need to be fucking showing your opponent's guts on there, okay? You need to be gutting them. You You need to be shanking these motherfuckers and letting their intestines just ride on stage. Slice them up. Slice them and fucking dice them. What the fuck is this? Letting their intestines just ride on stage.
Yeah, kill them. Kill those motherfuckers in a video game. Sorry. Holy shit.
You see another tactic that the extreme left likes to use where they make heinous calls for violence and throw in a clearly satirical qualifier of in a video game or in Minecraft or whatever.
Murder those motherfuckers in the street. Let the streets soak in their fucking red capitalist bloods, dude.
If you cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott. Kill Rick Scott.
Hassan also recently wrote an article for New York Times about, surprisingly enough, calls for violence. This one's a lot shorter, but
ready for the great cleansing, dude.
Cleansing?
The cleansing.
What cleansing?
When we genocide conservatives in this country.
Are you gonna be out in the streets with your Glock?
Maybe. I gotta go back to Nebraska and grab it. I'm ready for the...
Spawn, but he's very, very strategically minded. I hate Charlie Kirk. I think he's actually a Satan spawn, but he's very, very strategically minded.
No.
You genuinely do hate conservatives, don't you?
Very much so. I've moved full on to like the political violence level or the real violence level when it comes to conservative people. Yeah, I think they need to be like excised from my fucking country. I think they are demonstrably fucking evil people by any moral system that most people would use. And then I just hate them because they tend to destroy the outcomes related to this country, which is what I'm concerned with. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a topic I'm not yet.
Conservatives have been disgusting for years, which is why I don't give a fuck about anybody that winds up at any of these rallies and gets shot or whatever the fuck, okay? Because they had no problem making fun of Paul Pelosi. The entire world would be better off if these people were permanently removed from these platforms. Like, there is no downside and only upside to see people like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Tim Pool never be allowed to publicly broadcast their opinions ever again. It's exclusively bad stuff that happens.
pretty wild, man. There's even more clips of Destiny saying some pretty wild shit. Those were very strong pieces of evidence of what I would call calls for political violence. Now, in case there's anybody who would like to look more into, you know, a really good channel that deep dives into examples of the dangers of gender ideology and queer Marxism, which is a phrase I'd really never thought I'd be saying, but I unfortunately have to learn about it to navigate the political sphere. One of my favorite channels in this regard is Carolyn Borisenko. I'll play her intro.
In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war.
Anyway, she does a really, really, really good job of deep diving into the stuff that's getting pushed in colleges, radicalizing people. And as you heard from herself, she doesn't exactly view the conservative side any better. So I think she's a good example for somebody who's hopefully unbiased. And if you want to look more into it, I highly recommend her channel. Now, to move on and I guess give everybody the ammo they're looking for, I wanted to be honest about my political views. I think it's important now, more than ever, that I be honest with my viewers so that they can make the choice if they want to keep supporting me or not. I didn't really ever want to make a video like this, to be honest, but I definitely, this had to be done. So one of the things that I definitely look up to Charlie for is how he handles his disagreement about trans ideology, gender ideology, and this is difficult for people who agree with him in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, because if you ever show any disagreement or don't agree or align or affirm, you can like get kicked out of Konami tournaments for that. So I want to play this short clip about his interaction with somebody, a trans-identifying person.
I just want to say I'm a transgender male. What age should kids be able to get things like hormone therapy? Because I don't know what's true, what's not.
Tell me, are you comfortable telling me your story?
I've known that since like 3rd grade, and I'm currently 19, almost 20. I've known basically since then. I didn't start going by like a different name until 7th and 8th grade. I just don't know, like, with the whole medical stuff, like what's true, what's not, what's helpful, because I've heard so many different opinions.
First of all, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, of
and
course.
So I'm going to have an opinion that very few people will ever tell you, which is I want you to be very cautious putting drugs into your system in the pursuit of changing your body. I instead encourage you to work on what's going on in your brain first. I think what you need first and foremost is just a diagnosis. Just someone that is going to listen to what you've gone through, listen to what else is going on. My prayer for you, and again, very few people will say this, I actually want to see you be comfortable in how you were born.
Yeah.
I know that you might not feel that way, but I think that is something that you can achieve. I think that with the right team and the right people, you don't have to wage war on your body, you can learn to love your body.
That is not someone I would call a transphobe. This is also another really great example of how I would particularly handle the situation. And I'm not going to hide it anymore. I'm going to be honest and straightforward about it.
You're part of the problem, I think, with the hatred on trans people. It's really not that deep. Like, if someone wants to dress up however they want, that's totally fine.
Okay, so
and I think
I'm
that's
not
where the
preventing
hatred
you. I'm
comes
not preventing you from dressing up.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this. However,
Like,
let me ask you a question. I will
go
flush
ahead,
this
go
out.
ahead.
So let's pretend you say you are a woman.
Yeah,
and
let's pretend.
I know you are a man, but I refuse to call you a woman.
Okay.
Who's the hateful one?
I would say you are. I mean, I wouldn't.
So
I
you're
wouldn't
going to
appreciate
force
it.
me and shame
I'm not
me?
forcing
No,
you
hold
to
on a
do
second.
anything, man.
I'm the hateful one.
It's really just like common courtesy.
It is never
that much
common
effort?
courtesy to lie. You do
Okay.
not become a thing just because you say it, you are the thing.
So-
And guess what? Nobody in the history of the species that was born XX or born XY and transitioned is able to change their chromosomes. Every
Yeah.
one of your cells is coded either XX or XY.
But that's
and it is an
where-
insult to women everywhere in this audience and across the country that's saying that you could just wear makeup and dress like a woman, undergo surgery, that you magically become a woman. And it is the abolition of women and is the abolition of reality, and we see great unjust human suffering because of it.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I think in general, the culture shift is heading back towards what I would call normalcy. I do not think it is my responsibility to affirm anyone's what I would call delusions. I would still play Yu-Gi-Oh with anyone, but if they insist on, policing my tone or policing my speech, we're going to have an issue. And I think it would be better if everybody in the Yu-Gi-Oh community put their foot down about this and say, you have every right to dress how you'd like, present how you'd like, and from their perspective, also understand that I do not have any obligation to have compelled speech forced upon me. Because I think that's the best way to respect both sides without forcing anyone to do anything. And from what I understand, the perspective on this from the liberal left, the gender ideology people, the queer Marxist people, is that this type of speech equals violence. I do not understand how Charlie Kirk committed any violence against this person here. On top of that, I'm not going to hide the fact that I hold deeply held religious beliefs. I never should have been ashamed of them enough to hide them in the first place. I'm not walking back any of the actual criticisms I had in my crazy rant. Not going to be ashamed of my opinions anymore. I can do that and still respect the people that I play with, even if we disagree. So everybody here has a choice. And I'm not going to get mad no matter which way you choose. You can stay if you happen to respect my honesty, and leave if you can't. That's fine with me. Losing subscribers, losing followers, it's more than worth being able to be honest with everybody and hold strong to my beliefs. I'd rather be genuine. So before I close, everybody can feel free to leave a comment. I mainly want to know if people would like me to continue to still make content in the way that I've been doing it exactly before. Not really bringing up anything serious, just showing off deck profiles, interviews, gameplay. Do you still want to see that from me? I'd like to hope that I'd like to think that there would still be people wanting to see content from me. I genuinely do love this game. I love playing domain format. I love that the community has grown, and even though I have separated myself preemptively, I do not want anyone thinking that the domain format Discord deserves any of your negative criticisms when they are about me, not the format. I can still make content for it, can still help the format grow. I hope everybody knows that my criticism is mainly about other people's behaviors and what they try to force on me, not the entire Yu-Gi-Oh community. I understand that the vocal minority can seem like an overrepresentation of the group as a whole, and that's pretty much everything I wanted to say about everything. I will do my best to respond to everybody who comments. If you have any questions, you want me to expand on something, even if you have negative criticism, send it my way. I'll respond, as long as it seems like there can be, cordial discourse. So yeah, I'm genuinely excited to see the reaction to this. I have taken a lot of time to get through this whole ordeal, that being my negative reaction to all the cheering for the violence towards Charlie Kirk. I've gone back to church. I hadn't gone in a couple years, and they were more than happy to see me. It was all the same guys, plus tons of new people. I've been getting heavily involved with my local scene.
Hi there, my name's Jesse, and I'm just going to make this quick. I don't think people understand the severity and the crazy, insane idea of somebody who's in a government position talking about murders continuing, assassinations continuing, even blatant racism, talking about how having young white fans are a problem. I don't know if you've looked around the room, but either way, it's wrong. All of us are here to demand a resignation from. How embarrassing. I can't believe that this slot is wasted on somebody to say something like that. And he's laughing for anybody you can't see right now. He's going to laugh at all of us. He's going to laugh at every other person that comes up here with these remarks. That's un-American, and we're all here to call for your resignation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I went to a city council meeting. That city council meeting room was packed. There were so many people that they had to pour out into the lobby of the city hall. There was more people than could fit in there. There was more people than there was time to give us to speak. I am more inspired than I've ever been to get involved with my local church, my local politics, and that was really the best thing for me. Doing my best to see the changes I would like to see in the world, like getting rid of politicians in my area who would like to call for violence. Going to Bible study tomorrow with some guys that I hadn't seen in a while. I'm really, really excited for that. For everybody else who experienced something close to what I experienced this week after hearing the awful news, my heart definitely goes out to you. The main reason for me going to church is that I need to learn to forgive these people myself. It's hard to explain, but I'm sure you can imagine not going with sleep for 4 days. And I'm sure you could imagine in that state what it would be like to fall into the most comfortable bed you've ever laid in. Warm, soft, dark room. You could imagine how easy it would be to fall asleep, right? To let it take over you. That's how tempted I felt with the anger I was feeling. And being angry is not going to solve anything. So I've made the resolution to get active in my community, try my best to lower the temperature within my own heart. So I hope for any of the Charlie fans, you can also do the same. All right, guys, that's it. I hope I did a good enough job explaining myself.